This is Richard Reporterson on Channel 8 News, and we interrupt this regularly scheduled program to bring you an emergency news broadcast. 2 children in the state of Oregon have been reported missing by their great-uncle. Police believe the disappearances have something to do with this strange Dorito man being reported in houses all across the country. Police say if you've received this book or have been greeted by this Dorito man, then it's suggested that you don't shake his hand or touch the book, but report it to authorities immediately, as those who have been in contact with the man or the book have gone insane. This again was Richard Reporterson. Now back to your regularly scheduled programming. Well, that's the last time I remember watching the news. Hello and welcome back to the PowerFull show, the most schmebby-lock channel on YouTube. Today, we're exploring the mysterious town of Gravity Falls. The show Gravity Falls follows Dipper and Mabel Pines, 2 twins who are spending the summer with their great-uncle Stan. In that said summer, they encounter strange creatures as they try to discover the mysteries of the town. You're probably wondering why I'm making a video on a nearly 10-year-old TV show for kids. Well, that's because I like the show, and according to my YouTube recommended, we're also entering a Gravity Falls renaissance, which means this is the perfect time to do it. My YouTube recommended has been filled with nothing but the Pines twins, so that made me think. Scary, I know. Does this show deserve a comeback? Should it make a comeback? And why am I considering spending thousands of dollars on the limited edition version and blacklight edition of Journal 3? To solve these mysteries and more, I decided to rewatch the show and order the Book of Bill. So, while we're waiting for the book to arrive, let's get on to the show. The first season consists of 20 30-minute episodes, and the second season consists of 21 30-minute episodes. The show begins with an introduction to Dipper and Mabel Pines, as they go about a day of their summer with their great-uncle Stanford Pines. When Dipper goes into the forest to put up signs for the mystery shack where they live, he finds a strange journal with a 6-fingered hand on the cover. The mysteries hidden in the journal are the main driving force and premise of the show, as they have detailed information on the mysteries of the town. One of the entries prompts Dipper to question Mabel's new boyfriend, who turns out to be a group of gnomes trying to make Mabel their queen. The next episode starts with Stan trying to spend quality time with the twins, but they abandon him to hunt for a lake creature to win a photography contest. After finding and evading the beast, they learn that it was all a robot made by the crazy old man McGucket, so they return to fish with Stan. They spend the next episode searching for the murder of a wax figure of Stanford, but that isn't really relevant to the overall story, so let's skip to the next episode, which is crucially important. This episode introduces the villain of this season, Lil Gideon, who's Stan's rival and a child psychic. The twins visit Gideon's tent before he falls madly in love with Mabel. Gideon tries to kill Dipper with his magic necklace when he tries to break up the relationship. The episode ends on a cliffhanger, revealing that Gideon has a journal similar to Dipper's with a 2 on it. The following 3 episodes are not that plot relevant. The twins only get attacked by ghosts before Dipper tries to become a man, followed by Stan hosting a party where Mabel makes friends and Dipper clones himself. Episode 8 follows the twins as they attempt to uncover a conspiracy about the town's real founder. They learn about the 8.5th President of the United States, Quentin Tremblay, who did a bunch of goofy things that embarrassed America. One of his silly ideas caused him to survive in peanut brittle, so when he emerged from his hibernation, he gave Dipper and Mabel gifts for finding him. Dipper received a president's key and a dollar bill that is less than worthless, while Mabel became an official US Congresswoman. In episode 9, Stan holds a totally legal fair where Mabel wins a pig who she names Waddles, and Dipper gets Lindsay to go out and another guy. They encounter a time traveler named Blendon, who accidentally gives the twins a time machine. They restart the day in an attempt to make it better for Dipper. After some time travel related shenanigans ensue, Dipper learns that he can't be with Wendy as long as Mabel gets Waddles, so he gives up on Wendy. The season's midpoint is an episode where a fighting game character comes to life and fights Dipper's battles for him, but he turns on him before disappearing after game overing. In Gideon's next plot to defeat the twins, he shrinks Dipper and Mabel as leverage to take the mystery shack. He loses them, and they regrow to their normal size before fighting a Halloween candy monster. Mabel makes a bet with Stan that temporarily makes her the boss of the mystery shack, so he can go on holidays. In the next episode, the gang fall into a bottomless pit, which this episode actually inspired this video as I was bored once and watched it again, which made me remember how good the show is. Moving on, Mabel meets a merman in a public pool, so the twins take him back to his family. Dipper and Mabel fight for their own room before realizing that the room has a Freaky Friday-like carpet, so they switch minds back and forth in an attempt to rig the contest to win the room. When Mabel learns that the boy bands she's obsessing over is just a bunch of clones, she insists on freeing them so that they can see the sun, while Dipper saves his crush from being hypnotized. The twins find a secret cave full of dinosaurs before meeting Bill for the very first time, while on a trip to Stan's strange mind. Gideon steals the mystery shack and the twins fight to get it back in the season finale. Don't get me wrong, the season is great, but the episodes only get better from here. My top 3 episodes from the season are Episode 14, Bottomless Pit, Episode 18, Irrational Treasure, and Episode 19, Dreamscapers. Episode 6, Dipper vs. Manliness, gets a runners-up, but Season 1, Episode 1 gets an honourable mention as well, because it started it all, and it features the gnomes, who are peak characters in my opinion. I really like Season 1, it's the second best season in the entire show, but it does what it's trying to do really well, which is establish a good story while setting up for the second better season. The best part about this season, and about Alex Hush's writing, is that even the filler episodes are entertaining. Like, I could watch Bottomless Pit for hours, and that's why it was number 1. Because Bottomless Pit, despite adding absolutely nothing to the story, was still one of my favourite episodes, and is what inspired this video. So Alex Hush, you get a gold star for even making the filler episodes interesting. The writers did a really good job of establishing Gideon in the 20 episodes they had to work with, but his character is written and established really well, and the introduction of Bill Cipher, the main big bad of the show, and the subtle beginning of the search for the author is just one of the things that the setup for this show does well. This season sets all those things up perfectly for Season 2, in which they are improved upon. Well, Gideon, not really. Gideon is actually really good in the season. That is one of the good things they did. I like foreshadowing in movies and TV shows, and the setup of Bill Cipher is actually really well done. I actually think this show may have piqued my interest in setup and foreshadowing, because the way they set up Bill Cipher in this season is wonderful, and his introduction as a character is just built upon in the second one. If you've only seen the first season, then I recommend pausing this video and watching the second one, so that I don't spoil anything for you, because I am going to summarize the next season and the ending of the show, so I suggest you pause the video now and watch it then. So, if it's only the people who've seen the entire show, then well, welcome, because let's go back to the story. So back to the twins, as Stan is throwing a birthday party to celebrate the defeat of Gideon. To convince the government to help him search for the author, Dipper summons zombies, which the Pines family kill with karaoke. Dipper commits to finding the author, so the gang head into the author's bunker, where they find a laptop. They also encounter a shapeshifter, but that's not really relevant right now, because Mabel challenges her rich rival Pacifica Northwest to minigolf. Mabel cheats during the game of minigolf before the two rivals bond as they escape the golf ball people who control the ball. While Dipper searches for the author, Mabel attempts to put on a puppet show to impress her crush. While trying to log into a laptop, Dipper gets tricked by Bill and he is possessed. The laptop is destroyed and they learn that crazy old man McGucket built it. Stan kidnaps someone, not important right now, and the gang finds a society of mind erasers called the Blind Eye. They learn that the society was founded by the crazy old man McGucket, who used to once be sane and a well-renowned scientist, who worked with the journal's author. Dipper becomes a ghostbuster as Pacifica lets poor people into her mansion, Stan gets arrested, and we learn that he had built some sort of portal. So the twins try to prove his innocence, only to learn that he's not what he seems. He said the name of the episode. The portal gets turned on in time for the Pines family to see that Stan has a twin brother. They tell us how Grunkle Stan is actually Stanley Pines and not Stanford, because Stanford is his brother's identity which he stole, and his brother is the author of the journals. It's less convoluted in the show, I just don't know how I explained it so poorly. In the next episode, Ford and Dipper bond about their love for a Dungeons and Dragons ripoff called Dungeons, Dungeons, and More Dungeons before it comes to life and attacks them. To prevent Gideon from escaping prison, Stanley tries to run for mayor before Ford realizes the threat that Bill poses. Ford enlists Mabel to collect a unicorn hair to make the shack untouchable by Bill, while Dipper learns Ford's history with Bill. There's a fun filler episode where the gang prank a bunch of different tourist traps before Mabel becomes sad when Dipper is offered a apprenticeship by Ford. This misery causes Mabel to be easily tricked by Bill, who possesses the time travel guy, allowing Bill to enter the real world and to begin weird. The final 3 episodes mainly follow Dipper as he attempts to find Mabel and reconnect the gang. Dipper saves Mabel from a time bubble that is allowing summer to last forever, and the two find Stanley hiding in the Mystery Shack with a bunch of other people and creatures. They all band together to transform the Mystery Shack into a mech, as they hatch a plan to save everyone in town. That Bill had turned to stone. A kaiju-like battle ensues between the mechanized Invincible Shack and Bill, while a handful of the residents enter Bill's newly formed lair to save everyone else. Ford tells them to recreate the Zodiac, but Stan is still salty about Ford not thanking him for saving him from the Nightmare Dimension. That was a lot of hymns. Bill finds them, turning the other Zodiac members into really nice tapestries, while he traps Ford and Stan. Dipper and Mabel distract Bill while the two hatch a new plan. Bill returns with the twins and threatens to kill them, so Ford makes a deal, allowing Bill to enter his mind once and for all. Once Bill enters Ford's mind, he realizes that he was tricked, but it was too late, as Ford had already erased all of Stan's mind. With Bill gone, the effects of Weirdmageddon were undone, but the twins were still left without a Grunkle. Returning to the shack, Bill showed Stan her summer scrapbook and he slowly regained his memories.
This is the second time I'm recording this because the first time, my camera decided that my audio wouldn't work. Actually, OBS decided that my audio wouldn't work. So, after going back to try and re-record the script, I looked at the script again and realized how much I yapped in this section. Like, there's a solid page or 2 here. Wow, I talk a lot. Well, womp womp. Due to other commitments, I have been watching this show in short bursts of 4 episodes at a time, and in between watching it, I actually went and played mini-golf with myself with some family and friends. So, I can confirm that it is most likely rigged, because I cannot believe that my dad got 2 consistently in a row for like 4 holes. I did come second, so maybe it's not rigged and it is all skill, but I cannot believe that. That is not fair. He was definitely cheating. The ball people were helping him. He must have bribed them or something. Back to my actual thoughts on the show, and here are my top 5 episodes from the entire show. Season 2, Episode 11, Not What He Seems. Season 2, Episode 10, Northwest Mansion Mystery. Season 1, Episode 14, Bottomless Pit. Season 2, Episode 16, Roadside Attraction, and Season 2, Episode 3, The Gulf War. 2 honorable mentions are Season 2, Episode 6, Little Gift Shop of Horrors, and Season 2, Episode 15, The Last Mabelcorn. That episode is just unhinged. As you can probably see, my list is made up of majority Season 2 because I believe it is significantly better than Season 1. Even the filler episodes like Gulf War are still some of my favorite from the entire show. Little Gift Shop of Horrors, another unhinged episode, is just, hilarious. It adds nothing to the story, but it's just funny to watch. So, the season and show overall are spectacular, 10 out of 10. 100% Rotten Tomatoes. Other rating system. The show ultimately builds on the character arcs and just improves all the writing and storytelling that was built up in the first season. As I said before, Little Gift Shop of Horrors is unhinged. Stan straight up kidnaps a person and the twins couldn't care less. Mabel's just playing tic-tac-toe with a kidnapped guy and she's like, I don't think you understand how it works, when he cries for help. Jesus. So wow, I see how it is. Kidnapping is fine, but building an earth-destroying weapon is... Okay, yeah, maybe that sounds worse in my head. Yeah, I would have been concerned if Stan did that as well. Jokes aside, the best episode in the entire season is Not What He Seems. Actually, this is the best episode in the entire show. This puts, the subtle mystery that most episodes have and kicks it up to 11. There's, a full-on mystery, it's not a murder mystery, but it's a murder mystery. It's, trying to figure out what happens as the entire case unravels, and everything you've seen in the past, all the cliffhanger endings that have just been, forgotten about, they all get brought back up. It's crazy. I was on the edge of my seat for this entire episode, and this is exactly why I'm thankful that there wasn't a Season 3. Because if this was the cliffhanger that it was going to be, Tale of Two Stands would have been a bad opening. Before you go get your Stanco pitchforks, let me explain. I know the backstory is what we all wanted for a while, and the build-up was crazy, and we wanted an answer to the questions, but as a long-awaited Season 3, you would have been waiting an entire year then to sit through 30 minutes of just talking with the very simplest resolve to the problem. In my opinion, the way they resolved the problem was, pardon my French, boring and anticlimactic. I know. You get the reveal of Stanford, and then it cuts to the two children on swings. That is chilling. That is with goosebumps. What the hell? I'm so confused. If he's Ford, then who's he? What the heck is happening? He's the author of the journals as well. And then it just cuts to them monologuing. I understand the monologuing is what we wanted, and we needed that to explain what happened, but not when it's is a long-awaited Season 3. Not when that's the only piece of media you have after waiting a year. The tension gets dropped in the most anticlimactic way. The government's just oh, I forget now because of the forgetting way with Ray. Yeah, I get that was built up in Society of Blind Eye. Amazing episode. But I don't agree that would have been a great start of the season. So you have all this tension built up and then you just go, monologue. Okay, great monologue. How are they going to fix the problem? Maybe if they made it so that problem solving was the next episode and then that was all monologue, that would have been maybe better, but that still doesn't fix the problem that it's an entire episode of just monologuing and backstory. So it works as a Season 2, Episode 13, but it wouldn't work as a Season 3, Episode 1. The rest of the show features well-written character growth, and overall, it's just a great show. You're probably wondering why I didn't put any of the Weird Mageddon episodes on my list. Well, that's because there's 3 parts, and they all fit. They should all be one. They don't work together as separate sections. They work as one big episode. So I wouldn't be able to, rightly just... And I still think Not What He Seems is a better episode. Don't get your pitchforks out as well. But I wouldn't be able to faithfully put it on my list without splitting them up episode by episode, which would then mean they wouldn't be on the list. The story continues throughout the entire one in such a way that they need to be back to back to back to back. So, being the Bill Cipher fan I am, I wouldn't be able to rightly put it on the list without having them as, without having number 1 or 2 being just one big block of Weird Mageddon. Speaking of Weird Mageddon, it's time to get weird. So let's dive into the Book of Bill. Hello, and welcome to the PowerFull Book Club, the only channel on YouTube that legally clubs books. Today, we'll be going through the Book of Bill. This book by Alex Hirsch is probably not possessed, I think. Well, actually, it did turn all my other books into itself, so opening the book for the first time, and you'll be greeted by, constant laughing or screaming. I think it's laughing. I think it's just laughing. So, off to a great start. In the book, we talk to Bill about his life and a bit of his backstory before revealing secrets about how to get into heaven and about the multiverse and how it's just a Pokemon card, but that's not a theory. That's not a game. Bill reveals how he survived the events of Weird Mageddon by making a deal with a god-like being, and so he lives on. Throughout the book, he tries to convince us to help him come back to Gravity Falls, and if it was me, if it weren't for those heartfelt notes... He tries to convince the reader to help him come back to Gravity Falls, but with a little help from the Pines family's nice messages, we get to take back control of our minds, and Bill ends up revealing where he actually is. Overall, the book is a fun read for fans of the show with great new art. There was an ARG. You can still go onto the thisisnotawebsite.com. The book shows us what all the Pines are up to, what Seuss, Wendy, and etc. are doing. We learn more about the show and the history of Gravity Falls than ever before. If you've seen the show, I would highly recommend that you buy a copy for yourself because it has a lot of fun secrets to unpack, and there's more than the little information I shared in this video, but now it's time to answer the final questions on everyone's mind. Does this show deserve to have a renaissance? Yes, of course. You can tell Alex Hirsch and everyone who worked on this show put their
blood, sweat, tears, and other fluids.
Like heck, even most of the crew reunited to do a charity stream to raise money for the fires. So it absolutely deserves a renaissance and a comeback. But should it make a comeback? Should Gravity Falls come back? It depends. Season 3 shouldn't happen. I don't think there should be a Season 3. Because unless they just do another summer, then I don't think there's much you can go from there. But a comeback in other ways, like through a different show, following either Stan and Ford in the Arctic, or Seuss running the Mystery Shack, or other books, then that would be welcomed with open arms. Because the show still has things you can work on. As I said, Ford and Stan have their whole hunting monsters in the Arctic. You could see how Dipper and Mabel were affected by Widmageddon when they eventually go back to wherever they came from. Again, I forgot, that country's not really relevant. But seeing cool things like that. Seeing where everyone's at after the show. And finally, the last question. And why am I considering to spend thousands of dollars on a limited edition Blacklight edition of Journal Volume 3? I stuffed that up, but I'm going to keep it in the video because I'm not bothered to say that again. Well, it's because I make poor decisions with my non-existent money, and I really like this franchise. I think it deserves even more praise than it already gets, and it's just a fun show with fun characters and an exciting story. For watching it for the first time, you'll, see what I mean. Hey, and if Bill Cipher or Funny Dorito Man ever wants to come back to Gravity Falls, or Australia, I guess, then just let him know I'm willing. I'm here to make a deal. I'll shake his hand Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I take Saturday off. But Sunday, I'm free. That's all for this episode of The PowerFull Show. Thank you all for watching. Have a powerful day. And just remember that nothing makes sense, so make nonsense. Reality is an illusion, universe is a hologram. Bye, gold, bye!